Welcome back. So let me adjust this a little bit. As I said the last couple days, there's lots of methods to solve systems with two equations. Okay, this would actually apply if we have three equations, which you'll learn in Algebra 2. Okay, that's when you have three variables, so this will be pretty easy comparably. So you have your warm-up. I want you to use the elimination method just like you've been using for all the other ones that we did. So eliminate a variable, okay, probably wise, just to get your brain back into that. Now the rest of this video is going to be about a different rule, and this is called substitution. Now remember, way back when, if I tell you x equals 4 and the equation is y equals 3x plus 2, you would plug in 4 for x, right? Because x equals 4. That's what you're substituting in for x. So you get y equals 3 times 4 plus 2, right? Which is 12 plus 2, which is 14. Okay? You're going to do the same thing, but now it's going to be an equation. Okay? So when you guys get your homework, when you start to do these problems on your own, they're going to stack the problems, just like they did with elimination. Okay? Now, when they're stacked like this and x and y are both on the same side of the equals and it's very obvious top to bottom what everything is, I would use the elimination method. But notice how this y is by itself here and they're not stacked nicely, right? The equals is way over here and they're not lined up. This is when I would use substitution. So notice I already have a variable by itself. So y equals x minus 4. So in my new equation, or in my second, so this is my first equation, this is my second equation, I'm going to take the first equation, what y equals, and plug it into my second equation. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the second equation, and where I see y, because that's what y is equal to, I'm just going to write a set of parentheses. Okay? So notice I wrote the same equation, 3x minus blank equals 18. 3x minus y equals 18. So instead of writing y, I wrote a set of parentheses. Now the first equation tells me that y equals x minus 4. So inside the parentheses, I'm going to write x minus 4. Okay. Now I did this because if there's anything outside of the parentheses, I have to distribute that in. Okay. So these might get a little more complicated. You need to work through them, and you can still do it, okay? So notice now, I don't have an x and a y in the problem. I have both x's. So I'm going to solve for x. Just like I've been doing, I still need to get an x and a y. I'm just doing it slightly differently. So remember there's an invisible 1 here. So I'm going to distribute the 1 in, or the negative 1 in this case. So negative 1 times x is minus x. Negative 1 times negative 4 is a positive 4 equals 18. Okay, so all I did was distribute this negative 1 in, and I brought everything else down for the ride. Now I can combine like terms on the left-hand side. So 3x minus x is 2x plus 4 equals 18. I'll draw my dotted line through my equals there. And now this is a regular two-step equation. I'm going to subtract 4. So I get 2x equals 18 minus 4, which is 14. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So I get x equals 7. Okay. Now you should be thinking to yourself, are we done? And the answer should be no. I'm going to plug it back in, right? And again, you go back to your original equation. Now I would choose this first one that's already solved for y and plug x in, and then you won't have to do anything extremely annoying. So I'm going to rewrite the equation here. So y equals x minus 4. My x is really 7 now, so I'm going to substitute 7 in. And 7 minus 4 is 3. So my solution is x equals 7, y equals 3. If you like to put it in as a point, 7, 3. So this is where the two lines intersect. This is the unique solution, is 7, 3, to these two equations. Okay. So I took one variable, got it by itself. The problem gave it to me by itself, which was nice. And I substituted it in. Okay. Now some of them won't give you the variable by itself. Okay. Now, I will let you choose, even in this section, if you'd rather do elimination for all of them, that's fine. But here you would have to get the x over to the other side first before you did elimination. So be prepared. So if you really like elimination, you can go ahead and do elimination. But I'm going to show you substitution for the rest of this video. So notice this one has them stacked nicely. So this would be a good one for elimination, but since I'm doing substitution for this video, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm actually going to write the equations next to each other. Now usually for elimination we had them stacked, but when I do substitution I like them right next to each other. Unless one of the variables is already solved for, like in the last problem. Now I'm going to choose to solve for a variable for one of the equations. It doesn't matter which one. I choose a variable that doesn't have something in front of it. So this x or y would be good, this x would be good. I probably wouldn't solve for this y because then I'm going to get into dividing and that's fractions. Sometimes you have to do it, but avoid it if you can. So I'm going to solve this one for x because last time we solved for y. So I'm going to subtract y over to the other side. So I get x equals 8 minus y. Okay. So these two equations are exactly the same. They're equivalent. I just rearranged them. Okay. So I'm going to take this x and I'm going to plug it in for this x over here. Because those x's are the same. X is always equal to x. So again, I'm going to rewrite the equation, and where I see an x, I'm going to put a set of parentheses. Okay. So I literally wrote x plus 2y equals 10, but I wrote parentheses plus 2y equals 10. And now where I see my parentheses, I'm going to plug in 8 minus y, or substitute in, which is why it's called substitution. Now notice this time there's nothing outside of the parentheses, so I can just rewrite it. I don't have to distribute anything in this time. Okay. And then I'm going to combine like terms. So I have 8. Negative y plus 2y is just plus y equals 10. Subtract 8 from both sides. And I get y equals 2. Okay. So again, you should be thinking, am I really done? And I'm not, because I need to find x. Now I could use one of these two original equations, or I could use the one I already solved for. Okay, they should all give you the same answer. And I'm going to use this one because then I don't have to do any real hard work in finding x, because it's already solved for x. I just have to plug in y. So since y is 2, I get 8 minus 2, so x is equal to 6. Wham bam, you're done. Okay. So again, I will not stop you from using elimination here if you'd prefer, but I'm just showing you substitution. Okay, I got one more example for you. Okay.